We are here at shul.com at our night seder, and we are learning with our friend Isra, Ben Ish Hai Halachot Shana Rishona Parashat Bereshit. He begins on Hilchot Tzizit, so we're going to go into it. God willing, in the coming weeks, we're going to be doing a special class that's just going to be on the tying of Tzizit. I'm trying to put together now like all the opinions of Sfaradim, Ashkenazim, Hasidim, of every single type of how to tie Tzitziot. And I want to present it in one class so that if you ever want to tie your Tzitziot, you can choose from like 20 different varieties of how to tie your Tzitziot, according to the Ben Ish Hai, or according to the Hasidim, according to the Lipish, the Gome Vilna. They had all different opinions, and God willing, I didn't finish the work on it, so when I finish it, we'll present it in one shot. It'll be a nice class. So you get to choose. And I believe it's Harambam who brings down, if you just do a double knot, everything afterwards is okay. So you get to kind of pick and choose what you like. Let's begin with Aleph. Kodem sheyivarech v'yit'atef yikaven nekayim mitzvat aseh l'lbosh tzitzit mitzuyeset kehilchata. First thing, before you put on the tzitzit in the morning, you have to take another 1 second. Just remember, I'm about to put on a garment that is a metaphysical garment. It's a physical garment, but it has a lot of spirituality to it, and that I'm doing a commandment of God. The only reason why I'm wearing this 4-cornered garment is because God told me to. I'm not wearing it because I'm cold or because I want to get warm. So right away, when you do that, you already elevate the mitzvah and the act, your Kavana. That's the beginning, because when you're doing mitzvot, there's a few processes. There's the physical, you're touching, you're going to talk it, and then you're going to think, and then you're going to see. So there's different parts of the mitzvah. He's telling you the first one, have a Kavana that I'm about to do this L'Shem Shamayim. As it says, Shneimar v'asu lem tzitzit al kanfei bigdehem. Behem mitzvat aseh shehazeman gerama. It's a mitzvah of one of the asehs. How many asehs are there? There are 248 that you have to do. 365 you don't do. That's why the Gemara says it would have been better off if mankind wasn't created. What were they saying? They were saying that the odds are stacked against a person, because there's more things he's not supposed to do than things he should do. So the odds are he might do something wrong, and more so than not, the Gemara was right. So that is pertinent to time. Why? Because it's only during the daytime that we wear tzitzit, or that we get a commandment to wear tzitzit. Okay? כמו שכתב רבינו הרשש בנהר שלום. דף נ"ב עמוד א' בסוף עץ חיים דף ט"ז עמוד א'. ולכן טוב לומר בפיו קודם הברכה לשם ייחוד קדושה ברכוש שכנתה וכו'. So he has a whole L'Shem Yichud to do it. If a person can't say the L'Shem Yichud every morning because he's rushed, the least you can do is you could say L'Shem Yichud Kucha Berichu Ushchente. Just saying that. And Vihinu Am Adonai Elohinu Aleinu Uma Aseh Adenu Konena Aleinu Uma Aseh Adenu Konena. You do that twice, and you're okay. Even if you didn't say the whole thing, you had the Yichud of Hashem, and that has a good basis to it. הריני מוכן ללבוש ציצית מצויצת כהלכתה, מצויצת כהלכתה, כמו שציוונו השם אלוהינו, ועשו להם ציצית על כנפי בגדיהם, כדי לעשות נחת רוח ליוצרנו. Because we're doing the mitzvah. Why? To bring pleasure to God. וגם צריך לכוון בעת שמתעטף בו, שציוונו הקדוש ברוך הוא להתעטף בו, כדי שנזכור כל מצוותיו לעשותם. וכתבו האחרונים ז"ל, מי שאינו עושה כך, עליו נאמר ותהי יראתם אותי מצוות אנשים מלומדה. So he's saying here that when you're putting it on and you're mit'atif, have kavana that you're doing it because God told you. Why? He says because in Yeshaya it says there's a pasuk, but it's a concept of mitzvat anashim milumada. It's that when people are just doing acts just to do them, they don't understand it, there's no feeling, there's no meaning. He said, don't be that person. Yeah, you can talk, of course, that's right.
Somebody who's putting on tefillin who doesn't understand it.
Yeah, so we're gonna go, of course, obviously, there's a lot of mitzvot we do we don't understand.
Put it on.
Yeah, we put it on, we don't understand. Now, the first level is obviously doing the mitzvah. What's up, Charlie? The first thing is doing the mitzvah of the tzitzit, but he says, don't make it a mitzvah anashim milama. Don't be like, don't make it recurring as, what's the root, they call it, like a routine. Don't make it a routine in your life. Meaning, if I'm putting on the tzitzit in the morning, take 1 second and think, I'm doing God's commandment. I'm doing this for God. I'm not just putting this on because I want to put it on. I'm not just putting it on because I'm part of a men's club that comes every morning to pray and have breakfast and talk and hang out. I'm doing this because God gave me a commandment. Now, as you get older, you should advance your learning. If you're 15 years old and you first learned how to do tzitzit, okay, you got it. When you turn 16, 18, 20, 30, 40, are you still at the first grade or high school level of the tzitzit, or did you advance yourself? Now you understand tzitzit a little bit more. You know that now there's a few options. There's wool from the Torah, there's cotton, there could be silk. Meaning, did you advance what you understand of this mitzvah, or are you still on the first grade level? You understand? And that's besides mitzvah anashim ulamada. It's advancing your learning each and every year. It becomes more special to you. The more I research, especially tzitzit, which I love researching tzitzit and all the types of old tzitziot, how they tied them, it creates value to you because it becomes important. You understand the subject. You go and you delve into it. And he's telling you the Ben Ish Hai. The first halacha of the Torah that he's telling you in the Ben Ish Hai. He's like, don't do mitzvot in a route, in a rote way, like just doing a routine, and put focus in them. And how do you put focus? By saying, I'm doing this mitzvah because God commanded me to do it. We're going to go into how to do the atifut in a few minutes, so we'll bring a talit and we'll do a special recording just for that, of how to do atifut according to the Ben Ish Hai. I learned it from one of the rabbis in Halab in Syria that came to New York, and so we'll do that in a couple of minutes. Bet. Yivarech leita'atef b'tzitzit. That's the beracha. Leita'atef b'tzitzit. So it's asher kiddishanu b'mitzvotav v'tzivanu leita'atef b'tzitzit. There's another beracha that you might make if you don't do what's called atifut. Atifut is when you wrap it around your head, and then both sides are coming down from the side, and then you're going to put one on each side, and we're going to do it together to show you. That's called atifut. If you don't do that, if you take a talit and you put it on the old conservative way around your neck like a scarf, there's another bracha. You say al mitzvah tzitzit, and we're going to get to that. So he says the hit'atef b'tzitzit bishva tachat habet. Okay, so not the hit'atef b'tzitzit, the hit'atef b'tzitzit. ולא בפתח, וצריך לכוון בפרקת הטלית הגדול לפתור טלית קטן שעליו שלא פשטו בלילה. So he says when you do the bracha of the big talit, have Kavana to the Tzizit. And he says here, Shelo peshato balayla, that you didn't take off at night, which means the Ben Ish Hai's recommendation is that you wear Tzizit at night also. Even though you're not commanded, you do it. There's a few reasons for that. One of them being that you probably don't wake up at Alot HaShachar or Nitz every day. Maybe you do, but maybe you don't. So if you sleep with it at night, then you'll catch the early hour mornings of the tzitzit while you're sleeping. But if you do it just when you wake up in the morning, let's say the guy woke up at 7. Okay, he put it on at 7, but you just lost 2 hours of tzitzit of daytime. So he says do it the whole night. But one of the good reasons is that you'll be covered in the morning too, even according to halacha. So mishum deika desvira le shetzarich leberech al talit katan shebaboker. He says there is an opinion that you should make a bracha on the talit katan, which underneath. Mishum safek brachot nakel em mevarchim. Because it's a safek whether or not you should make that bracha, we don't say it. V'katabti b'sifri hakatan mekavsiel de'im mikaven bekach sagi behachi. If you had that bracha, if you had kavana, it would have been okay. Ve'en tzarich lemashmesh b'talit katan b'shat bracha gam l'dat maran zal. Or hayim siman chet seif ted zayin. So he says even if you make a bracha on the big one, you don't need to touch the tzitzit underneath. When you do atifut, and you say leita'atef b'tzitzit, you just put on your regular tzitzit and you don't have to touch the bottom. Al ken mipnei hashikha mitzuya ba'adam u'mishtele ve'lo mekaven lefamim. Sometimes people don't have kavana. לכך נכון שירגיל לעצמו להוסיף בנוסח להשם לייחוד קדושה ברכוש חנטה נזכר לאל עוד דברים אלו והרים מוכן לברך עטיפת ציצית כתיקון חכמים סוכנם דמך בנים מכוון לפתור ברכה זו גם הטלית הקטן שעלי. He said sometimes you're going to forget that when you put on your big talit that you're covering the tzitzit. So what do? He says just say it with your mouth in the l'shem yichud that I'm putting on this talit and I'm having kavanah for my tzitzit. So if you say it in the morning, that's good. So you could take a second. I'm covering my tzitzit katan. It's in the l'shem yichud, and if you say it, it's good. You remember. Gimel kodem sheyivarech ye'ayin b'yivdok b'chutei tzitzit shelo yeh v'hem chisaron haposel. Check your tzitzit to make sure that they're good and they're kosher. You have to, in order to check, you need to know what makes it kosher and what makes it not kosher. Sometimes you could check and you don't know if it's kosher or not because you have to check the halachot. So he says, "V'gam yafrid hatzitziot b'yadav shelo yeh chotim mesubachin ze bazeh." make sure that talitot, tzitzit don't get all tied together. Let me show you what I mean. Like when you have your tzitziyot, you want them to always be like this, to be nice and smooth and clean. And he mentions here, Berak b'Shabbat lo yafrid ela yivdekem bilvad. On Shabbat, don't separate them, but you could check them on Shabbat. So on Shabbat, when you're going through the talitot, if you don't use your regular one, you could just check them. But if you see that they're all tied together, the strings, don't start separating them. V'gam od yizaher b'chol yom livdok ulayen hachotim lemala b'keren b'mkom hanekev she'im nifsak sham afilu chut echad pasul. So he says, check the area on the top. This area can make it pasul. You see, because this is the first double knots. This is the main part of the knot. Everything that's all here is really superfluous. It's really dependent on how you like it. But once you do this double knot, the first one, you're really covered according to the Torah, to the halacha. And so he says, make sure that there's nothing wrong in this area, because if there's something wrong here, it's pasul. The core of the four strings that are doubled are going to end up being ripped here. Over here, if there's a rip at the end, we'll get to that. But he's saying, be careful here at this point. Even if one of them is cut or something, is a problem. You came in late to shul. Let's say you came in late, doesn't have time, or they're waiting for him to open the Heichal or to read in the Torah. Okay, you could say I checked it yesterday or whatever. It's okay, but don't check it at the time. Let's say someone's going on the road and he knows he can't fix his tzitzit. Don't check it. If you know you can't fix it and you're on the road and you're in Wichita, Kansas, all right, you got stuck there. I don't know why. The flight got delayed, and you got to pray in the morning. And you know that it was okay a few days before or a day before. Don't check it then, because if you check it and you know that it ends up becoming pasul, you can't wear this talit. So avoid the situation. Okay.
So if you don't check it and it's not kosher, you can wear it.
So it's interesting. He says he doesn't say it that way. He says that you checked it last and it was kosher, and so you have a hazakah. You have what's called a hazakah. Hazakah means I'm going to check it again. I'm not going to.
Do it until you check it next.
Check it next. So you can say I checked it already. I checked it yesterday. I don't want to check it right now. I don't want to check it. Maybe something. I don't want to check it. So he pushes it off, and obviously he's going to check it when he gets back to a place that he knows he can fix it. Not that indefinitely he's going to rest of his life. I checked it when I was bar mitzvah. Okay, now he's 83 years old. Doesn't check his tzitzit again. No, we're talking about a case where he's in a situation where he knows if he gets stuck, it's no problem here. Why? If his talit is no good in shul, just go get another one.
Does that apply to everything?
No, we're going to keep it specifically for this. Always when we learn halachot, we keep it specific to the one that we did. We don't want to carry it all to everything, but we can ask on other halachot. So in shul, it's okay, because if you come to shul and you see that it's a problem, you just pick up another one, and you're all set. You're done. Talit. Gam talit katan yizeh lebodko kodem ubazet yeh gam ishto mesayat b'mitzvah. He says talit katan, also check it. The talit katan, I probably check more than my talit gadol, to be honest with you. I check my talit katans all the times when I put them on. I want to make sure that they're good. You're getting a mitzvah deoraita. It's better than a bulletproof vest, tzitzit. So, how many miracles we're hearing now in Eretz Yisrael, especially now with what's going on with the battle in Gaza and everything. We see how the tzitzit is a protection that I told you, it's metaphysical. It doesn't make any sense. A person wears a four-cornered garment with some strings, suddenly God puts on him a special light to protect him. It's unbelievable how many stories came from this. So he says, sometimes when you need to check the talit katan, you can have your wife help you. Why? Because your wife is probably sending it to the cleaners or cleaning it. Let her, she can check it for you. It's okay. You can teach your wife. Happens to be, this was written in Iraq he died in about 1910, the Ben Ish Hai. My grandfather, Meir Dagmi, was born in Iraq, in a city called Amara, a small little village outside of Basra, near the border of Iran, or at the time was Persia. It was in the 1920s. And he told me that at the time, the women in Baghdad, in order to get married, they had to know a lot of halachot. They had to even know how to do shechita on ofot, on chickens. Meaning the lady, when you would come home, you'd bring her a couple of live chickens. You'd tell you, honey, take care of it. She would do the shechita. She would take care of everything from A to Z. That's the women of Baghdad.
Be a shochet?
Yeah, well, yeah, yes, of course. Women can be shochet, yeah, for sure. women can blow shofar. Women can read Megillah according to the halacha lechatechila. That was.
And men could be yotze.
Yeah. When it came to the Megillah, women could read it in the shul. I showed that was one of the major halachot that I ended up picking up that we did last year. We didn't record it, but we'll get to it when we get to Purim. I love pulling out these halachot. The Torah was always up for equal rights, but when they are deserving, meaning the Torah was up for women to do things just like men did. It's okay, but there was a purpose where the men did things on the forefront because the Torah was given for the men to learn and to keep, and there was a lot of mitzvot. So it's pertinent to them, but it doesn't mean in any case that they can't do it. So here, he's telling you your wife, she can check it. When she prepares her husband's clothing, separate the strings for you. When you wash it, they usually get all over the place. They have these items now that you could put the tzitziot inside, like a little item that when you wash it, nothing happens to it. So you can be careful. And then she protects her husband from doing a isur. What would be the isur? Because if one of the corners doesn't have the strings on, at least in a way properly that it's kosher, what ends up happening? He ends up wearing a four-cornered garment that doesn't have strings on it. And that's a isur deoraita. So it's a problem. Sometimes the husband's, he's busy, he's occupied, he doesn't check his stuff. Even though your wife is checking, take a moment and check your stuff before you make a beracha. So here he's talking obviously make a beracha, I'm assuming on the big one, not on the small one. Okay. Hey, seder atifat talit gadol hu kach. Achar siyum beracha ta'atof bo rishcha bilvad. Okay. Bring me please, Ezra, a talit. We're going to do it in person right now, and then we'll do a separate review right after. Seder atifat talit gadol hu kach. This is how you put on the talit and you do the atifa. Achar sima beracha ta'atof bo roshecha bilvad. ולא כאותם המתחכמים לעטוף בו כל גופה מתחילה. דאין לנו אלא דברי רבנו האריזה. ואחר שעטפת בו ראשך יהיו 4 כנפות יורדים על הכתפיים לצד הפנים, 2 על הצד ימין, 2 על צד שמאל, ואז תאכל תחילה לצד ימין, תשליכם לאחוריך ולצד שמאל, שיהיו בסבריך על כתף השמאלי לאחור, 2 סמנים יישארו תלויים נגד פניך, תמתין מעט שיעור מהלך 4 אמות או פחות מעט. ותחזור תשליך אותם השניים הסמליים גם כן לאחוריך לצד שמאל, באופן שאתה נעשו כל 4 כנפות תלויים לאחוריך ביחד בצד שמאל, ותמתין שיעור מהלך 4 אמות. ואז תוריד טלית הכרוך בצווארך על כל גופך, ועתה תהיה מעוטף בו ראשך בגופך ביחד, כן מפורש בספר הכוונות. Okay, we're going to do it right now. I'll show it to you. So, let's do it sitting down here. So, the first thing you do is like this. You're taking the talit and you're scrunching it up. So let's do that right here. First thing you do is you scrunch it up like.
You have to do it like that?
I'll show you why I do it this way, because it avoids hifsek between the beracha. Look how I do it. First, there was this rabbi that came from Halab, Ham Abraham Zafrani. He saw me doing putting on my talit and he corrected me. And I learned it afterwards. He was 100% right. And so what did he do? He would carry it, he would scrunch it up like this and then hold it with one hand. He wouldn't do 2 hands and he would make the bracha. I'm going to show you with 2 hands, but he would do it with 1 hand because he said you do the bracha with your right hand. So he would hold the talit, he scrunched it up, and then he would say, look what I'm doing. Right away, I put it around my head. Okay, you see it's on both sides like this, right? Now that I do step 1, I finish the bracha, I'm not talking. I'm taking the talit and I'm covering my mouth. You see that? But not my nose. I don't cover my nose, only my mouth. I'm covering my mouth. And then, after this, I do it a distance, he says here, a mahalach 4 amot. So 4 amot is about 6 feet. So I do like a 3-second thing, like that. for 2 or 3 seconds, and then you take the other side and you put this one over. So at this point, you have both sides of the talit behind you. You're covering your mouth and your head like this. This is called atifut. It's from the Yishmaelim. We took it from them.
Why?
From Bnei Ishmael. I'll see if he brings it down here, but we'll talk about how he does it. But this, we're doing it like the Yishmaelim. Okay? Once you do this, then you can bring this side down. You bring this side down. We're not done yet. You keep going, and then you cover your entire body and back with the talit, like this. And now you're fully covered in the talit, and then you could cover it, bring it down, and you could wear it however you want. Now, after you did this bracha, if you decided to wear, let's say, the talit as a scarf, at least you made the bracha and you did the atifut. But if you make a bracha and you're going to wear it just as a scarf, you know, like that old conservative style you see in the Reform, the conservative, or you see it amongst like those guys who came from the old country who never bothered to learn Hilchot Tzizit. They wear it like this. If you put on your talit like this, straight on like that, you have to make a different bracha. You do bracha al mitzvah tzitzit, because you didn't do atifut. Atifut is what we showed today with the whole movement.
What is atifut?
So we're gonna go into. I'll see if he brings into further. If not, we'll go and we'll research it and we'll talk about a few of the opinions. Why do we do it like the Yishmaelim? Which is a good question. But let's take a look. Let's finish what he has, because we'll finish the Benish Chai and then we'll divert, because we can talk about the Tzitziot for a long time. So you see how we did the atifut? Very simple, very easy, very clean. Okay, here you go, Ezra. There you go. Let's continue. Okay. And מפורש בספר הכוונות, דרוש ציצית, פרק א', דף ד', עמוד א'. וכמו שדקדק יפה הרב, אמת ליעקב ז"ל, it brings דף ק"ז, and then it says here, עין ד', בקונטרה שפת אמת, סימן י'. וכן מפורש להדיא בסידור רבנו הרש"ש ז"ל, ומה שכתבנו שישעה בין השטחת 2 הימנים להשטחת 2 השמאליים, שיעור הילוך 400, זה לא נתפרש להדיא בדברי רבנו. He said the time that you wrap over the first one from the right and then the second is not brought down openly in the words of Rabbeinu Hari, but he says to do it or in the words of the Rashash. There's different kavanot between wrapping and putting the right side and then the left. So do it for the distance of what the kavanot are. We're not going to go into the kavanot today. There are Kabbalistic kavanot. Maybe when we do the Sfarim of Rabbeinu Hari, Kitvei Hari, and when we do them inside, which we will do some of the Kavanot, we'll talk about it. The Hashtachat Hashtayim Techila Be'od HaShatayim Shemalim Odam Tilim L'Tzad Panim Yesh Baze Inyan Bifnei Atzmo ואנחנו מכוונים בכוונות אלו לכך די לנו שנשהה הילוך 400 כדי לקיים ההוראה של מעשה. He says we don't do the Kavanot, but we'll read them anyway, so we know them. כמו שכתוב בראשית ל"ב י"ז עדר עדר לבדו ורווח תשימו בין עדר ובין עדר. Okay, so there it's talking about, I think it's the sheep of Yaakov Avinu, that they would make Eder and Eder, and they would make a revach between the Eder and Eder. That's Bereshit, Lamed Bet, Yud Zayin. Okay. Vav, ben betalit gadol u ben betalit katan, yibarech me'omed. You should make the bracha standing up for either one, if you make for the low or for the high one. Uminhag Rabbeinu Harizal, the Harizal, used to do shigam talit katan tehila me'atif bo rosho b'chach morid oto al gufo. The Arizal would do atifut on his talit katan. So it seems on that he would make a bracha on it.
How? Both of them together?
No, it says he would no. Shaya gamken ayat tehila me'atif.
So the same type of.
You could do it. You're right. So it's not one sal because it has a hole in it, but you could still do it.
Why did he want to do it on the small tzitzi and not say mitzvah tzitzi?
I don't know why he did it. We'd have to open up the books of Maharchu. It's important to note that the Arizal didn't really write anything. I say this often because a lot of people quote the Arizal as if he wrote. He didn't write Sfarim. He wrote a song on Shabbat. He wrote a couple of tefillot that we see on Yom Tov. So he had a few students. One of them, his main student, Rav Chaim Vital, who studied with him for about 20 months in Sfat, and he had other students that came before Maharchu, after him, and they all wrote Sfarim. So a lot of Rabbeinu Ari's teaching comes from those Sfarim, but they sometimes conflict with each other. So you need to know that. And we don't have an actual books or Sfarim that we can go and say that Arizal wrote it. We know that his students wrote, and they wrote a lot of different things. So he would actually make a bracha on it. If someone's going to do this, it's nice. If you don't do atifut hanishu, ela techach morido al gufo b'lovsho yivarech al mitzvah tzitzit v'lo yivarech lidatif. He says over here that if you're going to do that, where you wrap your head, do lidatif. If not, you do what's al mitzvah tzitzit. So it seems from here, he's saying to make a bracha al mitzvah tzitzit on the small one. But earlier he said that you should cover. If you don't make, you can cover it with the big one. But it seems here that if a person did make a bracha al mitzvah tzitzit on his smaller one, he has what to rely on so far. Zayin. Halovish talit chadash yibarech she'achiyanu. That's a big one. I do that. When you get a nice new pair of tzitzit, the clean one, you buy a nice, good quality, fine wool one, you get the nice, good ones, make a she'achiyanu. It's always good. Whenever you buy new clothing, say she'achiyanu. Don't give up that bracha. You buy a new suit, you're happy. What don't you make she'achiyanu on? Shoes. Because usually shoes are made out of leather, and that meant you have to kill an animal. So we don't make a shehayanu if you have to kill an animal to make your shoes.
Other things that means you don't say shehayanu.
Yeah, you're right. If a guy wears a leather jacket, he would make shehayanu. But it seemingly, when it came with shoes, they said not to make shehayanu with shoes.
It's like tameh, I guess. Like a bel tumah.
I'm not sure why. Achad bikat lehidatif. Okay. He says also when you make the shehayanu, first make the lehidatif b'tzitzit and then make shehayanu. Okay. But talit katan im mevarchim shehayanu. He says here on a small talit katan you don't make shehayanu. De'en derech la'asoto midavar chashuv shehiyeh sameach bo. He says over here you don't make it. Midavar chashuv shehu sameach bo yivarech shehayanu. But if you have one that you're happy with, which I am, because I wear my wool tzitzit daily, and I buy different quality tzitziot. Like I buy different types of strings. I buy hand strings. I buy the machine. I have a bunch of different tzitziot. So when I buy a new one, it gives me a lot of happiness. I make a shehayanu on it. It's something that really speaks to me, and that's shehayanu is one of those things you're happy for. Chet en להקפיד להניח סימן בטלית. לשום תמיד צד אחד של הטלית על הראש ולא ההפך. You don't have to worry about wearing the talit on either side. Which means like we have, if you notice on the talit, you have that little border piece that's on the front, so you know which one's the front and the back. He says you don't have to really. It's not a big deal. Sometimes they used to make a mark. Maybe they didn't have those tzitziot, so they would make sure that they always wear it right. He says you don't have to worry. You don't have to worry. You don't have to worry. You can wear it either way. And that he's talking about the talit gadol. Let's see if he says anything else about now tet. Izaher shelo yasira talit katan me'alav b'shum zman. Make sure to never take off your small talit katan, your tzitzit, at any time. I'm just going to use the word tzitzit for a small talit katan, and then talit meaning talit gadol, for the sake of our discussion, so you know what I'm talking about. Hen be'et shena, hen be'et tashmish amita. At all times, when you're sleeping, when you're in bed, when you're with your spouse, rak kishi kanes la merchatz. Only when only when you go to the bathhouse, take it off. If you go to the bathroom, and you're wearing no other garment above your talit, you're just wearing talit raw, then take all the tzitziyot and put them in your hand and cover them. So it's not open. So you give it a little bit like respect. If you're doing that, he's talking like if you have no shirt on except for your talit and you go to the bathroom, just take all the strings and wrap them all together into like a little bowl and put it into the tzitzit, so that it has that part of tziniut for it. Okay, let's look at Yud. If you took off your big talit to go to the bathroom or for another reason, and you intend on putting it on right away. When does this happen? A lot of times you start the tefillah in the morning and you're praying and suddenly you feel like you have to go to the bathroom, but you already put on the tefillah, you already made Baruch Shamad. It's a big mitzvah, a huge mitzvah, to go to the bathroom before you pray the Amidah. Why? When a person prays the Amidah and he has to go to the bathroom, whether number 1 or number 2, he's not praying properly. In fact, it says, there's a Gemara, we'll discuss it in the future, of that says that who is a person that builds a mizbeach every morning is a person that before he prays, he goes to the bathroom. Now, so like on the surface, you think, wow, like that's a pretty bold statement. What do you mean, build a mizbeach just because he went to the bathroom? Because when a person prays, he needs to pray with all of his limbs, his mind, his physical body, and spiritual body. If a guy is going to sit and have to go to the bathroom, he's constant, that organ and the organs tied into having to let out whatever is in the body that wants to come out is not praying to God. It's occupied with holding in something, because so he's holding in that, those items, whether it's number one, number two, into body, and his organs are holding it in. He's not praying 100%. He feels he has to relieve himself. So it's what happens is a guy puts on the stuff and he takes off his talit. But if you take off talit to go to the bathroom, which is a big mitzvah, I keep mentioning it, a person shouldn't pray the Amidah and say, okay, let me go to the bathroom right after Amidah. No. It's okay if you have to walk in a little bit after, or you even miss the Amidah. It's better to pray when you fully have gone to the bathroom. And he says here, if you're going to take off your talit in that case, it's okay. You don't have to make another bracha because you intended on putting it back right away. But afal gab de maranzal, even though, so we're going to get to it. Afal gab de maranzal, ora hayim siman het seif yudal svira le levarech kaime lan sefek berachot akel. So really, Shulchan Aruch said, if you take it off, you have to make another bracha. But the Ben Ish Chai is telling you, we did sefek berachot lahakel. Va'afilu neged svarat maran zal, even against the svara of maran. V'chinu adin betalit katan. The same thing is with a talit katan. In poshto lekanes letzvila, if you took it off to go to the mikveh, lo yivarech keshedovsho be'etz sheyetzeh. When you put it on again, don't make another bracha. Mishum sefek berachot, because of a sefek. Ve'afal gav de munfresh besefer hakavanot daf zayin amud bet. The Rabbeinu Harizal hayam min hagol levarech talit katan achat tevilah. The Arizal, when he would go to the mikveh, would make a bracha afterwards. Ve'en amrim sefek berachot keneged Rabbeinu Harizal. And we don't say safek berachot against the Arizal. The Ben Ish Chai will take safek berachot against Maran Shulchan Aruch, but not against the Arizal. Mikom makom yesh lomar shani Rabbeinu Harizal shaya mita'akeh b'tfilah ve'oseh ba'kavanot harbe ve'na'aseh hasiach hadat tafeh. What he said we don't go against the Arizal on safek berachot lahakel. That's only on Maran, not on him. And he said, so why would the Ari do that? He says, because you're going to go to the mikveh, you dip 1, 2, 3, 7 times, whatever times you're dipping, you come right out. Okay, you dipped into the pool, no big deal. When the Arizal went to dip, he was doing kavanot. He left this world. His mind and his kavanot were not here. When he came back to put on the talit, it's like he was a new person. And so he was so engulfed in the kavanot in the mikveh that for him, he's got to make another bracha, because he completely disconnected when he went, because when he would do a mitzvah, the Arizal, he did the mitzvah 100%. The Ben Ish Chai knew who he was talking to. He was talking to the Bablim, the Iraqi Jews. He knew most Jews are going in and out. Their minds on the talit more than there was on the mikveh. They went in the mikveh thinking about the talit and the tzitzit more than they did on that. So mihu. Im poshto kedei lekanes lamerchatz deshohe sham harbe. If you went to the bathhouse and you did a long time, yishavech al pi minhag Arizal. So then you can make a bracha like that. Kacha eleti b'sifri hakatan mekavsiel, like I brought in my book. Mihu im hechalif begadav v'lovesh talit katan acher. And if you definitely switch your talit, let's say you're going to the bathhouse and afterwards you're switching to a new one that's a clean pair. Afilu shehu lovsho techel miyad achar shepashat rishon yivarech al zeh hadash. You're putting on a new one, that's a different situation. You should make another bracha. V'chenu adin b'talit gadol, definitely with a talit gadol if it's a new one. That happens a lot. That happens. It happened to me a few times where I took off my talit, I went to the bathroom, I came back, my talit's gone. I don't know, someone else took it, kid took it, I don't know, I have to go take a new one. You make another bracha. It's a completely different talit.
Another litatif?
Another litatif, and you got to do atifut again.
But you don't do mitzvah.
Well, if you don't want to do atifut, you could do al mitzvah. Yeah, technically, yes.
You have that in mind. It counts with no.
You already covered your first one.
Covered with the big time.
With the big one. But if you want, al mitzvah tzitzit would cover the bottom one too, by the way. You can make al mitzvah tzitzit on either one, the big one or the small one. If it's dependent. If you're doing atifut, like we did, then you make that bracha. So if he went back a second time, I've done this before, where I'm not making atifut, I'm just putting on my talit quickly. I already put on my talit. Sometimes I go to shul. I already prayed, but I'm going back to shul to listen to a class. Happened in Brooklyn all the time. I prayed in the 7 o'clock minyan. I finished at 9 o'clock. We learned, let's say, right afterwards for a little bit. I had a little breakfast. Then I wait till like 10:30, 10:35. I'd walk to the other shul to hear a class. Sometimes they're in the middle of Musaf. I'm going to be the only guy in shul without a talit on, so I put on a talit. But I put it on like in 3 seconds. Al mitzvah tzitzit, I just wrap my nights up, I go right in. I'm not making atifut again. I made atifut already once. I'm not doing it the second time.
I'm talking about when you wake up in the morning and the tzitzit.
Yes.
You don't say al mitzvah tzitzit.
No.
Because you have that in mind.
In mind with the talit gadol. Yes, exactly. But if you don't want to make atifut that day, I don't know why.
Why wouldn't you want it?
I'll tell you an example. Let's say the guy, he's bald, okay? He's like me. He doesn't have too much hair. He went to Turkey, okay? And he did the Turkish implants. All my friends are doing it now. Suddenly they're coming back with full heads of hair. More hair than you, Ezra. And they come in, and now for like the first week, they can't wear tefillin, they can't touch their head, they can't wear
tefillin?
Yeah, for like a week on their head. So there's a bunch of things they could do. I recommended that they do this before Pesach or before Sukkot. So you have a week to take off. You don't have to wear for a week. So do it right at the time, and then you could be covered. I don't know how they do it. A lot of times they said that they just put on their hand, they didn't put on their head one. Believe that. But that's a case where the guy doesn't want to cover his head for whatever reason. He did that. He went and did that hair surgery. He has got a new full head of hair growing in. He's not allowed to touch the head for like a week or 2 weeks or whatever it is. You can't put the talit or you can't wrap it. But in that case, do al mitzvah tzitzit, then he would be covered. He has a way out of it. Okay, בספרי הקטן רב פעלים חלק ב' אור החיים סימן ה' כתבתי בתשובה בסייעתא דשמיא במי שדרכו ללבוש ציצית ותפילין בכל יום בביתו. Someone who puts on a tzitzit and tefillin every day in his house כדי שייכנס לבית הכנסת בציצית ותפילין in order to come to shul with ציצית and תפילין אך מחמת שהולך במבואות ששם עוברים ושבים בני אדם הרבה, but he goes to roadways and paths and sidewalks. There's a lot of people בני ברית ואינם בני ברית, Jewish and non-Jewish, אינו לובש טלית גדול שיש לו בבית הכנסת כי ניכר לעיני בני אדם, אלא שיש לו טלית דק מאוד שיש בו שיעור טלית גדול אך אינו גדול הרבה ולבשו בבית תחת הגלימה שלו. So he's telling you that if you're going to go into the street and do it, that you probably should do it with a different talit and put it under your glima, under your jalabiyah, under your cloak. ולבוש דקותו וגם אינו ערוך הרבה, אינו ניכר לעיני בני אדם העוברים בשבים, כשיבוא לבית הכנסת ישאל זה עליו תחת גלימתו. And then when you come to shul, it will be under his coat. But I mean, he's wearing his tefillin too, so I guess they would see his tefillin and not the talit. Okay. ולובש טלית הגדול שיש לו. And then he wears his talit gadol on top of it. והעליתי בסייעתא דשמיא יכול לברך בבית הכנסת על טלית שני השני. You can make another bracha on the other talit. We already said that, because if it's a different talit, you make a bracha. אף על פי שעדיין הראשון עליו. You make so שברך עליו בביתו כיוון דאיכא הפסק מביתו לבית הכנסת וגם איכא הסח הדעת שהוא עומד פסוקים על המזוזה ועוד שוהה הרבה בדרך הילוכו. So he's saying here, in that case, the guy wants to come to shul with talit and tefillin, so he put on a thinner or smaller talit, but that's still covered with the shi'ud at home. Then he wore his glima, his coat. So he's wearing his tefillin, he's wearing his talit, and he's wearing a jacket. Now he came to shul, he puts on another talit, you make another bracha. It's a different talit. You also had hesech hadat. You're in a different place. ושם בבית הכנסת לובש טלית אחר גדול כראוי בעטיפת הראש והגוף. A full large one that covers the full body. וזה הטלית שעליו הוא מונח על כתפיו תחת גלימתו. ועוד צידדתי טעמים אחרים בדבר זה לברך ואין לחוש בזה משום ספק ברכות. He said you could make another bracha on it and you don't have to worry. I don't really see that done often, but I'll tell you what I did see in Deal in Lawrence Avenue Synagogue, Rabbi Mansur this summer, and it blew me away. I was so impressed. There was a regular guy, business guy. In Deal is like a little bit more rural than it is in Brooklyn. So like you can get around Deal without seeing people. So I saw the guy come into shul in the morning. I went for like it was that morning we went with Rabbi Ariel Cohen for Nitz with Gary Gani. Okay. Yeah, we went early in the morning. So we prayed like it was like, I don't know, 5 the Shiluach HaKan. It was like 5 o'clock in the morning. I went in and we were like one of the first in, and I see this guy, Syrian guy, business guy, but he's like, I know he's a learner. Like you know the guys who are learners. You see them, you see the way they dress, the way they walk, the way they read. The guy's a Talmid Hacham. He came in. I see him drive into shul. He's got his talit and tefillin on, and he walks in. I was like, yeah. I mean, like I see that in the halacha. It's brought in, and I do that here when we're. Yeah, small tefillin, but I do that here. How do I do that here? Because I put my tefillin on in this room, which is the Beit Midrash. And then I walk into the shul. So by the time I walk into the shul, I'm already set. I don't walk into the shul and then put on my tefillin. I did it right before because we have this room in this Beit Midrash before we walk in, so it's perfect. I saw this guy walk in, drive into the morning. It was a nice day. It wasn't raining or anything. He had his talit tefillin on, and he ran right into the shul. Like it took him 5 seconds to run in. I saw that guy do it. I was like so jealous. I was like, this guy is doing the mitzvah the right way. Why am I cheaping out by not doing such a thing? I said to myself, when I have scenarios where I could put on my talit and tefillin at home and come into shul with it, I'm going to do that. It's brought down in the Chachamim to do it. You know, I've seen another guy do it here in Bell Harbor, right here. You can work here in Surfside, Bell Harbor with talit tefillin. Nobody will even look at you differently. We're majority Jewish here. It's a great place. So I learned from that look, you get a little older. You're not embarrassed anymore. You want to do mitzvot the right way. What do you care if a goy thinks that you look weird? If a nochri or whatever thinks that you're awkward. If the halacha says do it, it's a big mitzvah. It brings nachat ruach to God. Okay, we do it. This is part of our religion. We don't need to hide it. And when I saw it, I had a kinat sofrim on this guy. I said, this guy is doing the mitzvah the right way. And I was always saying, no, I'm embarrassed. I don't know. Walk in the street with talit, tefillin. No, now I do it. Whenever I can, I do it. If I can. Yeah, if I can. If I'm here, we do it from the Beit Midrash. But if I'm going to another place and I have the opportunity, I put it on before and I walk right in and I don't care.
Did you tell him?
I never told the guy. No, I never told him. I looked up to him. I don't tell everyone when I observe the mitzvot they're doing, but I learn from them. And when I do, I copy the good mitzvot, and the things that are not good, I don't copy. Baruch Adonai le'olam. Amen v'amen.